watch. Even though I'm sure, well, half the classes in quarantine, it looks like, which is fun. Okay. All right, this is human genomes. We're also going to detail a little bit on biotechnology, not too long there. All right. Now, we have caught up to the point to where my biology class last year was at before we got shut down for all this fun junk that we are still paying the price for. So some of this stuff may be a little bit older. I haven't really dived into it too much, so I may need a refresher in just a minute. But anybody want to take a quick guess as to what this picture is? Both of these are the same thing. What do y'all think they are? P. It's P. Yep. The one on the right, however, doesn't look too good, does it? Well, it's not necessarily the reproductive systems issue. It is in the kidneys. It's called, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, but it's a recessive trait that results from acid being excreted into the bladder, which causes it to have this blackish color. It is not healthy, obviously. If your urine looks anything close to this, please seek immediate doctors. So we're not going to define genome and karyotype. What you need to know about genomes is that the genome is the list of all of the genes in a organism, and a karyotype just shows you, I'll give you an example of a karyotype later. All right, so in human chromosomes, we went over recessive and dominant genes for a couple of weeks. We know that recessive genes can be passed from generation without exhibiting symptoms. So for instance, this right here, these right here, these two, they carry a recessive B gene. They don't exhibit it, it's not going to show up, but they are carriers, just like how I'm a carrier for blue eyes, which is why hopefully, fingers crossed, Emerson is going to continue to have blue eyes. My wife has blue eyes, so she would be homozygous recessive, and I am heterozygous dominant, which means that I inherited brown eyes, but since my father had blue eyes, I'm a carrier of blue eyes. So, since it's recessive, a person that is heterozygous with a dominant allele won't express it, just like how I carry the ability to reproduce a child with blue eyes, I don't show blue eyes. An individual that's heterozygous for a recessive disorder is also known as a carrier. So these are some examples of some genetic disorders. This one, obviously, you can figure out. This is called cystic fibrosis. This is what happens when I think it's the mucous membranes harden in your lungs. Anybody know what this genetic disorder might be? You know what it's called? I get it mixed up. I forget it. Albino, good. Yes, albinism. And this is Tay-Sachs. We'll talk about that. But these are all examples of recessive traits. So this person right here was reproduced by two parents that were carriers of the albinism gene. Now, some of them are dominant, just like achondroplasia. Achondroplasia is dwarfism. And you may have seen these people on TV. I think they're Big People, Little World, something like that. But dwarfism is a dominant gene, which means that a majority of the time, if two people that exhibit dwarfism reproduce, they are going to reproduce with children that also have achondroplasia. However, since they reproduced and have two children that are of normal height, then they also exhibit the recessive gene for regular growth. So this is achondroplasia, and we can figure these out by going through things called pedigrees. Now, anybody in here had a instance where you had to be hospitalized at any point? I hope not. But when you go to the hospital for a pretty severe thing, you normally have to list your history, your medical history, such as your family's. And the reason for that is because they create these pedigrees that show if somebody is a carrier of one thing or another. For instance, my mamaw, she passed away from heart disease, and that means that my mamaw was a carrier for a gene that exhibits heart disease issues. So, for instance, right here, males are shown as squares, females are shown as circles. So this right here would be a female. This right here, the square, would be considered a male. And if you are expressing a certain trait that we're studying, it's going to be darkened. So let's say that we are in this pedigree, we are looking at, let's just say albinism. So we're looking right here. If it is completely darkened, that means that that person is showing albinism. Ones that are not expressing the trait are not darkened. So right here, this person does not have albinism. However, if we're looking at carriers, they're going to be half shaded. So in this instance, we have a male, since it's square, that is a carrier for the albino gene. This right here, this is a female. It is completely darkened, which means that they carry it and it is being expressed. So ones that are half darkened or half shaded are going to be carriers. So they're represented with half-filled shapes, blah, blah, blah. And then dominant disorders only need one allele. So just like we were talking about achondroplasia, it only needs one. We're going to watch a short video on pedigree charts because that's going to be your assignment for today. If I can get this to be large, how do I? Well, I guess I'll have to revisit that because I can't click on it and present all this stuff at the same time. Now, if you go to any country, you will notice that all of these right here look pretty similar. Dakota, pick somebody for me. Artasia, what is this called right here? They're stoplights. Good. Now, Artasia, since you got that correct, I need you to pick somebody. All right, Dakota, what color is the top light in all three stoplights? Okay, red. Why are they all the same color on each spot? Yellow is in the middle and green is on the bottom. Why do y'all think? Because it would make sense. I mean, you could make it any color you wanted. If you know that red means this, you could put red on bottom. If red means stop and red's flashing, oh well. How many of y'all know anybody that is colorblind? Those of y'all on the basketball team should be raising your hand right now. Y'all know who on the team is colorblind? You don't? You should, because there's one that's there. I had him a couple years back. Who? Uh-huh. What colorblind mean to you? I'm going to show you a video of it. Yeah, you can figure it out. Don't worry. But it's really interesting because it was really cool. The first year that I was teaching biology, I had him in class. And this was one of the times that we were just like, oh, snap, you're colorblind? So people started throwing colors up, and they were like, what color is this? But it doesn't function like that. And I'm going to show you a video real quick that shows you the difference in the types of colorblind.
Yeah, that's how I'm always wondering how colorblind works. I'm always like, red.
This is how colorblindness works. Is that as loud as it gets?
Is it senior or junior?
It's senior this year. Yeah, that's as loud as it gets, so you're going to have to listen close. But there's different types of colorblindness.
And then your entire lives assuming they're just fit, but there's really no need. Colorblindness is hereditary. I know your genes and your parents, you can understand this. Colorblindness is a recessive gene carried on with X chromosome. So to be colorblind, colorblind, but their mother is a carrier, there's a 50% chance they will receive the defective X chromosome. Women, on the other hand, receive one X from their mother and the other from their father. Again, there's a 50% chance they will receive the effective chromosome, but because it's recessive, it will only be.
All right, so, whoops. Didn't mean to do that. I'm going to have to skip forward.
While it will only be carrier. If that woman now has a child with a colourblind man, the son again will have a 50% chance of being affected. But the daughters will definitely be a carrier, with a 50% chance of being colourblind themselves. If that colourblind daughter starts a family of her own with a non-colourblind man, all of her sons will be colourblind, and all her daughters just carriers. If she'd have had a family with a colourblind man, though, struggling for any kids at all colourblind. The idea that women can't be colourblind is a myth. It's less likely, as it has to affect all of your X chromosomes, and women have two disclaimers, but it's still very possible. This is one of those myths that colourblind people get questioned about a lot. Along with,
do you see only in black and white?
Here's your answers, Dakota.
40,000 people live.
So what colour is that strawberry then?
Red.
Are you sure you're colourblind?
Yes, but it's only certain shades.
You're not colourblind then?
No, it's a mistake. Colour vision deficiency is a
European.
What colour is that then?
green.
Yeah, but are you lying?
No.
So does that mean that when you grow up you can't be a pilot or an astronaut? What colour is that?
Blue.
No, it's purple.
That's not a question.
What else can you see?
Sometimes the grass looks green.
Why did you just learn that grass is green and call that shade of orange green?
Good. Question. The red means 3 types of cones for colour.
This is the reason why colorblind affects people the way that it does.
The N cone, medium wavelength, green, and the L cone, long wavelength, red. When light enters the eye, it stimulates each cone, but cones are useless at identifying colours on their own. If an N cone receives 1,000 photons, it doesn't know if it's looking at blue in bright light or green in low light. But with signals from the other 2 cones, the brain can use the ratio between the strengths to determine the colour. If the L cone also detects 700 photons and the S cone 10, the brain can work out if the grass it's looking at is probably green. This is how normal colour vision works. 3 cones working perfectly, trichromacy. The most common type of colour blindness is anomalous trichromacy, while one of the cones is impaired. People with a dodgy L cone have protanomaly. The L cone is shifted towards the M. When incoming light is detected in this range, the difference between the 2 detected signals is much smaller, meaning the brain struggles to determine the exact colour. This is why I can sometimes see a specific green is orange, but not orange is green, making it impossible to learn your way around it. Due to anomaly is very similar, but the N cone is shifted towards the L. People with L and N cone problems have red-green colour blindness. They can struggle with greens, yellows, oranges, reds, and browns. But because of the red, this can also lead to confusion with purples and blues.
So, that's a basic understanding of how color blindness works. Lights on in 3, 2, 1. By the way, our grades have been updated and sent. Any late work past Friday is no longer able to be entered. So, progress reports will go out Wednesday. All right, so that's going to bring us, well, towards the very end, I believe. Yeah, we're not too far out. So, our discussion on color blindness, it is a sex-linked gene. Sex chromosomes can determine gender. So X and Y. XX means female, X and Y means male. This right here is an example of a karyotype. Okay, these are all of the chromosomes that make up a human. Autosomes are the other chromosomes. So all of these 22 pairs right here are considered autosomes. The 2 sex genes are located right there. In this case, the individual inherited 2 X chromosomes, which means that they were born female. Now, sex-linked genes are controlled on the X chromosome. Since males only have 1 X chromosome, we are affected by recessive traits on the sex-linked genes more often because we only inherit 1 of them. So this is an example of color blindness. We have a female that is a carrier for color blindness. Dakota, where's your Chromebook at, big dog? I hope you got your paycheck ready then, because you're going to owe to school if you can't find it.
Oh, it's at home somewhere.
Okay. And in this case, we have a male that is considered normal. He does not have color blindness. This is the percentage that they would be affected by color blindness. There is a 25% chance that they would reproduce with a male that is affected by color blindness, since the mother is a carrier. All right. Now, questions. In reproduction of different plant life, you'll see right here, in this case, we have a recessive, which is little r, for the color whites. And I think these are called snapdragons, if I'm remembering correctly. Then we have homozygous dominant, which is red. And when they reproduce, we end up with pink. The reason why we do this is because of incomplete dominance. Now, incomplete dominance is an interesting thing. I actually have incomplete dominance. Dakota, I need this. Poor favor. Thank you. So, incomplete dominance means that it mixes with whatever is there. Red hair is an example of incomplete dominance. My daughter has red hair, but she also has brown hair, which means that my red hair is mixing in with that brown to create an auburn color. And it creates an intermediate phenotype. So it's somewhere in the middle. So for instance, red, and then you've got brown. In the middle is an auburn or a chestnut color. That is what Emerson has. Not going to do that. The other way that incomplete dominance can happen is through codominance. Codominance is when both alleles are in different spots of the body, or in this case, the flower. Notice that the white is taking up different parts. The red is taking up different parts as well. All right, we're going to skim through biotechnology because I think you're going to need a little bit more time this week to work on that research paper. So in your cases, anybody know what this fruit right here is? Most of y'all see it in the supermarket every day. Nah, it's a fruit. It's a banana. This is what bananas look like naturally. What about this one right here? That's an avocado. Notice how the pit is significantly bigger in this picture as opposed to what we breed them for. And finally, over here on the right, any ideas? That's corn throughout the years. We have genetically changed it from one form to another by selectively breeding them to have what we want them to have. Bananas in nature are mostly seeds. Same with avocados. This is a chicken throughout the years. Now, I'm going to tell you a pretty funny story. I used to work in a chicken supply store, and on occasion, we would have to make deliveries to chicken farms. Notice this is in 2005. I was working there in 2015. Now, when I arrived at one point, I'm seeing this guy, this big old dude in coveralls. He's huffing and puffing because he's so fat, just lugging these dead chickens around and just tossing them in the back of his truck. And he had a whole truck full of them. And I was like, what's going on? You got a sickness or something? He said, no. At this point, we have bred chickens so big for a larger breast on them, because that's the most marketable piece of meat on there, that if they fall over on their backs, they will suffocate to death. So these chickens were falling over on their back and suffocating to death because we have bred them to be so large in the breast, because that is where a majority of chickens' meat comes from. What, picking up dead chickens and throwing them in there? Chicken houses are the most disgusting places I've ever been. They do. They do. I made good cash, but I couldn't stand it because it stunk. It always smelled like ammonia. Anyway, but back on topic.
I can't remember what year, but my dad was talking about one year it was so bad because they gave him so much, like one whole house to die because the chicken. They're trying to make them way too big. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Look at in 1957 what the average chicken looked like. That was 905 grams.
Okay, in 2005, this was 15 years ago, they were 4,000 grams. That's almost 4 times the mass of what they used to be. This is a mutant. That's what we do when we're looking at the bottom dollar. This is done through selective breeding, which is where we pick and choose what we want different individuals to have. We interbreed them with closely related relatives. Anybody in here into dog breeding? Dog breeding? Anybody going by like hunting dogs on occasion? Okay. Normally, you're looking for a good breed that is that's got a good pedigree. Now, these purebreds, unfortunately, are bred with people or organisms that are relative cousins because you want to get recessive traits. And this is where things start to get a little sad. So, in 2011, anybody got any guess as to who that handsome man is right there? Yeah, that's me back when I actually looked good. Yeah. This right here was my puppy. This was PJ. Her name was Presley Jade. Now, Presley is was an English bulldog. English bulldogs are selectively bred to be pure breeds. The reason why we selectively breed them is so that they can get these nose wrinkles, the smushed face, because people find it cute. However, what they don't realize is that there's a lot of genetic issues that come from us selectively breeding them. This right here is a normal dog's X-ray. This right here is an English bulldog. You can notice that the slant in that spine has become extremely exaggerated. This is what gives them their low squat, but it gives rise to a lot of health problems. Presley passed away in 2017, I think it was, because her spine had fused together at the joints because of the way that this spine was shaped. Not only that, but they cannot breathe correctly, which is why they snort. People find it cute, but it's because they have such a short snout that they can't get enough air in. It's also the reason why they're really gassy, because they have to breathe while they're eating, because their nose is almost non-functional. However, yes, they are. Just because of that smush face, they are close relatives. All dogs can breed together, and we'll get into more of that when we get to Darwinism. But there is a solution. These are a couple of rescues or hybrids. This is Saint. We have him now. He is 2 years old. This is Axel, and this is Emmy. Yeah, I know. My dog and my daughter have the same name. These are German Shepherd Lab mixes, and Saint is a Chihuahua and a Jack Russell mix. Hybrids, or mutts in this case, tend to actually have longer lifespans, healthier lives as well, because they don't have those recessive traits that show up when you breed for recessive traits that people find cute. They are technically very inhumane. And we do that through the process of selective breeding. Dakota, if you wanted to look at the cousins or the relatives, this entire chart shows you how closely related each breed is. And finally, that's going to bring us to biotechnology, changing the largest breed of cows that we could possibly make. Those of y'all, how many of y'all are interested in agriculture? In FFA, maybe? Anybody? Okay. Those of y'all that are planning on continuing your FFA stuff, I think I've got a lot of guys that I went to school with that are doing stuff now with farming. This is going to be a majority of what you do. Steers are, studs. Does anybody remember Raul from last year? Okay. Raul, his family breeds racehorses. Now, I tell you, the majority of the money that you make from breeding racehorses does not come from winning races. It's from selling sperm. The horses that win those races, you're not off. That's pretty close to it. The highest, let me see real quick.
Just the horse can sell for millions.
Yeah, same way they always do. Let's see. All right, come on, load, load, load. Yeah, there was one example that was 100,000. There it is, Dakota. A gallon of gold medal winning big star, this was him, semen, is worth $4.7 million. So, we're going to finish up watching this, and I will introduce you to your assignment for today. Those of y'all that are interested in getting into agriculture, this is going to be a huge part of what you do. It's only 4 minutes long. You're going to see a massive breed of cattle. Why is it so... There it is. There you go.
If I saw a man like that, yeah, but I wouldn't get this close to him, I don't think. I would think he was on steroids or something. I think he was a bodybuilder. It is 100% natural, whereby it's within so many generations, all breeders have taken the best of the best, or the more muscle of the more muscle. We move from a normal classical type of animal, and then we select that sort of animal based on the double muscle. And when you say double muscle, do you mean it has 2 of every muscle? No, no. Because it looks like it does. Absolutely. It has exactly the same size of muscle than any other breed, except that in terms of quantity, each of these muscles is by far more developed. Right. This cow is technically known as a Belgian blue, and it's the product of selective breeding. Selective breeding is the first stop on our tour of how man is using science to control nature. It's used by farmers to enhance desirable characteristics in their animals. In fact, selective breeding is all about managing sex. To create these Belgian blues, over 100 years, farmers have only allowed the cows and bulls with the greatest muscle mass to mate. And the result is a bull that weighs over a ton. The animal's breeders are keen to show off the results of their hard work. The bulls are shaved to best display their muscles. What they try to do is to keep the animals in order to highlight all the muscles. So you can see where all the meat is. Exactly. But even here, where they sort of trimmed in there. Yeah, to highlight that muscle, which has got a high value. You see? And these are all going to be lean cuts, and they're all for quick cooking, are they? That's right. That's right. Because when you look at this, you can't help thinking of lunch, you know? Is it healthy? The animal, you mean? Yeah. Well, the animal is as healthy as another intensive producing animal. So this is about the most technological that meat can get? Not the most technological. In terms of technology, we talk about selection, natural selection, having achieved that. So what is the science behind the Belgian blues? There is a gene that regulates the growth of muscles in cattle. These cows have been selectively bred from animals that contain a copy of this gene which doesn't work. As a result, their muscles grow far larger than normal. To ensure the defective gene is passed on, sex for the Belgian blues has been replaced by technology in the form of artificial insemination. He is basically a sperm machine. He is a sperm machine, absolutely.
There's your answer.
It's very early in the morning.
I understand.
No, Mr. Gully had a question earlier.
The semen is now collected, it's in the artificial vagina, and from there we process the semen in order to be able to process artificial insemination on the cloud. So precise is the technology involved, they can analyze the semen sperm by sperm to choose the ones they want.
So this is what this is testing the sperm count.
That's a sperm analyzer. It's now checking, let's say, the quality of the sperm we have been collecting this morning. Green is good because you see that they are very, very mobile and they are looking forward to move towards the eggs.
And these are not especially muscly sperm.
Don't you find that they are very muscle?
Well, they look impressive to me, but I've never seen any other.
No. Visually, you won't see any difference. There is no way to find any difference between the bovine, the equine, and the other species. No.
Right.
All right, so stop that and